Hi everyone, it's lovely to be back talking to you again. And today I thought I'd do a book review, and particularly for a book that can be helpful for clients. Because we typically have a library of books within our practice that we can refer back to when working up a case or caring for a sick animal. But we don't often think of having books there for clients, even though research has found that our client education works best when we provide information verbally, but also back this up with something that the client can use away from the practice or can take away with them to refer back to later. So it can be helpful to have some books there for clients, either as part of a lending library, which would be lovely, or potentially for sale in our reception area, or simply to recommend to clients that they can purchase themselves from booksellers or from Amazon. And the topic I'd like to focus on is restricted exercise in dogs, because this is so common. But it's something that we typically don't support our clients in very well. Like, how do they manage that period of restriction behaviorally and psychologically? Because it can be quite a big hurdle. The restricted exercise can be short term, either after castration or spay surgery, but usually that's done for young, healthy dogs, and they're often very energetic, so it can be quite a challenging time for clients and for the dogs. Or it can be medium term, for example, after cranial cruciate repair surgery, after fracture repair surgery, or, for example, if as part of the medical management of intervertebral disc disease, or for behavioral problems where a dog needs to be restricted for a period of time, either because they're waiting on behavioral help from a behaviorist, or because they're just starting with the behavior modification plan, and that needs to be done in a very controlled manner. Similarly, it can also be a long-term issue or an intermittent issue, for example, with dogs, older dogs with osteoarthritis. So it's quite a common issue. We need to give our clients better support on how to manage this time. So I'm going to review this book. It's called No Walks, No Worries, Maintaining Wellbeing in Dogs on Restricted Exercise. The authors are Sian and Helen Zulch. I need to say straight out, I don't know the authors at all, and I have no commercial interest in reviewing this book. It's just a professional interest. And the book is available to purchase from Amazon, so it's readily available. So this book, as the name suggests, covers how to plan for and manage periods of restricted exercise in dogs. It covers a wide range of topics that we can see if we scroll down here on Google Books to the different chapters. But it covers topics such as identifying a dog's individual needs, reading canine body language to understand what they're feeling, preparing the dog for restricted exercise. So this includes things like handling, preparing them for handling, associated with their medical condition and procedures, but also customizing them to devices such as crates or muzzles that may need to be used, and also how to transition to restricted exercise if there's time to prepare for it and it's an elective procedure, for example. Also about adapting the environment and mental, social, and sensory enrichment that could be used during the period of exercise restriction, as well as advice on how to transition back to normality. So, what's good about the book? What do I like about it? Well, it's written in clear, simple language and is very nicely illustrated, so it should be appealing and easy to use for clients. An example of one of the lovely images there. It also emphasizes that each dog needs to be treated as an individual, and that what works for one dog may not be suitable for the next. So this is so true and very important, because animal behavior management is never one size fits all, although we can have a set of approaches and tools that we can mix and match from as needed. It also emphasizes that the vet and or physiotherapist, if involved with the case, with the animal, should be consulted to make sure that anything the client is planning to do from the book is safe to use for their specific dog with their specific medical needs during recovery. It also states that social interactions are still important, but that these may need to be modified. So it acknowledges that, well, restricting exercise means that the dog may, get less time bonding with the owner, may, also, that means even in the house, never mind outside on walks, and may not meet as many different people out and about. So it emphasizes that it's still important to interact with your dog and maybe even have to have visitors if your dog enjoys meeting people that they know, but that interactions may need to change. We may need to interact with the dog on the ground rather than the sofa, and we may need to, if we have time to plan, to teach them not to jump up. And I also need to teach visitors on how they should interact with the dog during this period. It also presents some alternatives to walks that can be used when gentle or short periods of exercise is allowed again. For example, simple things like actually just lying beside you, maybe in the garden, to get some outdoors time. Especially if the weather's nice, they can feel the sun on them, or they can sit in the shade, and they can also hear the sounds, they can hear the birds, they can smell odors on the wind. So they're exposed to all those different stimuli because, as the author states, walks are about more than just exercise, actually. They're also very important sensory and social enrichment. Other suggestions included things like creating an easy obstacle course around the home or outside in the garden using household objects such as boxes and brooms, which is quite novel, or practicing lead training either indoors or outdoors as appropriate. It also suggests some easy to follow step-by-step training instructions for muzzle and crate acceptance and loose lead walking, which would actually be helpful for anyone, but is really clearly illustrated, and the steps are very easy and clear as well. So I recommend that. And includes some simple ideas for feeding and cognitive enrichment. For example, food enrichment and puzzle toys like Kong Toys or Nina Otterson cognitive enrichment food puzzles. Some ideas for scent games, and also some ideas for training, although there isn't really a lot of ideas here, but there are some. And then it also includes how to ease back to normal. So I'll see if I can scroll down and you can have a little glimpse of the things that are on offer. So what didn't I like? What's not so good about it? Well, there's a lot of information in this book, and some owners may find it overwhelming, especially if they try to read it from cover to cover, and especially if they're not that behaviorally aware. It'll feel like there's a lot for them to do. So also for very busy clients, they may find it overwhelming as well. So it may be more useful to ask clients what their particular concerns are about. So for example, are they most concerned about, the handling that they'll have to do to administer medications or change dressings? Are they worried about vet visits, in terms of, during recovery? Are they afraid they're not going to be able to keep their dog from jumping up? Are they worried about the dog literally climbing the walls due to a lack of exercise or stimulation? Are they worried about weight gain? And when we have an answer, we'll know the sections that we can direct them to, so they don't have to go in right at the start. Secondly, there aren't that many ideas actually in it for feeding or cognitive enrichment, and you'll see that on the reviews up online too. So it might be better to use or supplement these ideas with suitable things from a book called Brain Games for Dogs by Claire Arrowsmith, which, we have to look and make sure the ones that you use are appropriate to restricted exercise because it's for all different dogs in this one. Now it is going to show it backwards, but this is the book here that I'm talking about. Sorry about it being backwards, the camera does that. And also there's, free resources online. For example, Annie adds 100 Days of Enrichment, which has really a ton of great ideas for food and other stimulating toys and games. So I'd recommend that, they're used to supplement this book. It does suggest in one point that when managing the interactions between dogs on a walk, when the dog is allowed to walk again, that the owner should carry an umbrella that's opened for their dog to move behind and stay away from other dogs with. I don't recommend this because opening an umbrella is both sudden and unpredictable and can cause high levels of fear, both in the owner's dog and in other dogs. Now, the owner's dog may be trained to be comfortable with that, but the same wouldn't necessarily be the case for other dogs. So for that reason, I wouldn't recommend it. However, as you go along, you'll note that the authors do state over and over again that again, it depends on the dog, and what's suitable for one dog isn't suitable for the other. So it's kind of that buffers that issue a bit, but it's not something I would recommend. The second thing the authors suggest is that feeding enrichment is used in place of feeding from a bowl. And I totally get where they're coming from, is that you get more value out of food that's used as part of games, especially for these dogs, than just feeding out of a bowl. But we have to remember that our dogs have expectancies that they've developed through learning over time. So the dog may learn that they to expect their dinner at a certain time and from their bowl. And even if they're getting food in toys and games, if they don't get their food in their bowl at their meal times, they may become frustrated and suffer negative welfare. So I would actually recommend that some of the day's ration is put aside for use in feeding enrichment, or the day's ration is reduced, but some food is still provided in the food bowl at regular times. And of course we can lift the food bowl up and various other things as the dog needs it too in terms of their physical ability. But we need to meet their needs somehow. So depending on whether the dog already has these expectations or not. So overall, it is a great book, even though you may need some additional details from other resources, and there's a couple of caveats around the use of food and rather than in the food bowl and the umbrella. But overall, it's still a great book. I'd recommend it, and I would give it 4 stars. So feel free to be able to check it out here on Google Books yourself. As I said, it's available to purchase from Amazon, and otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye.